All right, click the links to join the channel here over at Subscribestar. If you come remember here, you can watch the videos that don't make it out of monetization hell. There's a video yesterday. It's called like Anna Front Hole Casparian, something about a bridge too far. And YouTube wouldn't monetize it because it has front hole in it. And like I didn't know what else to call it. Would like bonus hole also get demonetized? So you can watch it there. Click links to join the Subscribestar. So Indy 5, Mangold, the douchey parasite, destroys the movie and then blames the fans. Brilliant move. Let's see how that works out for you. So stop thinking of this as an exchange between fans, and don't even like use the word fan. That's a total wrong mentality. They've been able to brainwash us into accepting so much of their nomenclature until we step back and go, wait a minute, that's not actually the precise and accurate word. I prefer to think of this as not fans in Hollywood. This is a contractual bargain between parties. Customer, the buyer, and the seller. And yes, you're selling the goods and services you're exchanging for a promise for performance is, in this case, artistic entertainment, and it's a lot of fun in many cases, or used to be at least, but it's still just basic contract law 101. Don't allow Hollywood to spin it and try to appeal to emotion and emotionally manipulate you when they're the worst people on earth. They have no loyalty to you at all. Like they're trying to pressure people into buying a product out of some bizarre brand loyalty where Harrison Ford doesn't give two shits about you. It sucks to say that because he's been in so many fun movies, but when you see enough interviews, you finally realize it's like it's all about money to him, which is fine. I'm glad he's upfront about that. And for Disney, it's not about money, which I know that middle of the political bell curve doesn't understand when you like, no, Disney's $1 billion cult. It's really not about money to them because in most cases, it's not really their money. And they're insulated by wealth enough to the effect that the corporate entity going broke it damages their future income, but they're already so insulated that they're willing to damage it a little bit to push this narrative because that's what cults do. And that's a cult. Like, oh no, a cult couldn't possibly be this big. Yes, it is. And if you've been paying attention to Hollywood for the past 10 years, it's almost impossible to see it. Oh, that's a rough image. So Hollywood is made of these demon lizards that hate you. It's insane to think they try to pressure you to be loyal to these godless vermin. In case you haven't seen Disney, Indiana 5 Dial of Destiny, absolutely you're going to want to skip that movie. It's so bad that it will make you hate the entire series and everything Harrison Ford has been in. That's how bad it is. Actually, go ahead and go see it. Go see it on go sail the high seas for it. Or when it comes out digitally, it'll come out. The copy will come out online instantly. Maybe you do need to see it. Like maybe you need to see like, oh, this is where Disney is. This is their finger. This is the narrative they're putting forward in this movie. Yeah, okay. And if it makes you look back at Star Wars and Indiana Jones and goes, oh, I can't watch this. I couldn't even go back and watch it, enjoy those things at all. It destroyed them. It's like, well, then I guess they had to be destroyed because like the further this goes on, you start looking further and further back in Hollywood and realize like, this has been subversive and corrupt for a long time. It's like we have this memory of movies in the 80s which were better and mostly okay and many times fun, but it's like this stuff was still going on back then. And you go back further and further, and like, oh, this has kind of almost been going on since the beginning. That's how bad it was. Anyway, I mean, put on the They Live glasses. That's why the They Live fight scene was so long with Roddy Piper, because that was he was trying to express how hard it was to get people to kind of break out of their matrix. So the fourth film, Crystal Skull by Spielberg, still felt like an indie film, but this fifth film by Mangold is just pure Frankfurt School bullshit deconstruction. They subvert and they corrupt everything. It bears no relation to the structure and the characters that you've built over since 1981 for the first film, because the character has a fair skin and he's playing what's supposed to be a European-based character, and obviously Hollywood cannot allow cool, fair Euro characters to exist because they hate them with this incandescent genocidal passion. And I know that sounds a little out of left field, tinfoil hat perhaps. Look around at the movies over the past 10 years and tell me if you don't notice something going on. Or the commercials, by all means. Pay attention to commercials. So speaking with the Hollywood Reporter, Mangold was asked by Brian Davids, life is filled with peaks and valleys, and I appreciate where my fictional heroes, such as Indy, have their own ups and downs. So why does a segment of the audience seem to want these legacy characters to be infallible? I just can't figure out why anyone would want such little drama. Mangold replied, well, there's a point where these characters become symbols more than characters, and so there becomes this anxiety that if you examine the humanity of a hero, you somehow weaken them. Because you're making a fun, silly, stupid movie inspired by Henry Rider Haggard's books from 150 years ago with the Alan Quatermain series. And he wrote a prolific writer. That's it. And suddenly in the fifth film, you want to inject a little realism into these supernatural fantasy films? That's ridiculous. And no, these characters are not. And the thing is, honestly, the H.R. Haggard's books were much better than anything Spielberg put out. Like, you go back and read those original Alan Quatermain books. Like, he made complicated, nuanced, heroic characters. And this was written 150 years ago. And he tackled things. He was very much a master storyteller. He was able to do things 150 years ago that felt very modern today. And that Hollywood couldn't even come close to touching, because they won't make characters that are nuanced like that. And the thing is, they refer to some of these characters as heroes. Absolutely not. To even seriously address some Hollywood piece of pop culture cancer as a hero shows how deep into Sodom and Gomorrah we're in. And I almost let it go by myself without noting it. To refer to them as action-adventure heroes is a subtle, subversive piece of propaganda. Shows you the power of generational Hollywood programming, where since about 1960, Hollywood has programmed people to think that these plastic F-dolls are heroes instead of the horrors that actors used to be considered as. Arnold, in his various movies, is not a hero. It's a fictional Hollywood distraction. And don't get me wrong, Predator was probably the best movie he was in. Excellent film. They're a lot of fun. The Terminator 1 and 2, solidly well done. But it shows you the power of propaganda to the lowest common denominator. That I can recite more Arnold movie lines than Aristotle or Shakespeare, and I'm not alone there. Hollywood is the great Satan. It's the most powerful psyop on earth, and it has operated totally unchallenged for 60 years, just pushing out decades of subversive filth and degeneracy. Hey, congratulations, we have children being turned into catamites. People think, what? I haven't been psyoped. My brothers in Christ, or Odin. Hey, whatever. Get on board something, though. Look around you and tell me, oh my God, this is a psyop. This is what a 100-year psyop war looks like. Look around you. Just look around. Turn off the distractions for a week and just look around and start thinking and maybe writing about this kind of stuff. And like, what do you see? Go watch commercials for a couple hours and take notes on them. What do you see? Once you see it, you see it. You won't have to put on the glasses. You'll be telling other people to put them on. So you think this current period is organic, that Hollywood is a reflection of the people? Absolutely not. They got a hold of the most powerful engine for propaganda on earth, and they're evil. Why would they be passive with it? That would be a complete waste of resources. Of course they use it for evil. They're evil people with power. What did you think they were going to do with it? The sad thing with Mangold is he's going to be just fine. He's going to fail upward because this is what they told him to do. This movie isn't a surprise to Kathleen Kennedy or Disney. They were on board this the whole time. You don't make a $330 million plus movie plus $100+ million in advertising and not have people checking this thing, the scripts and the rewrites, the whole time to make sure that this is the tone and the narrative and the marketing that they want. They were on board. Everyone who has power at Disney was on board with this the whole time. This is not you don't put $400+ million into a film and have it be a surprise to a company, because even to Disney that's a respectable amount of money. They hate Indiana Jones, the character, and they're absolutely willing to lose $250 million to get their postmodernist deconstruction Frankfurt School cancer message out there, and that's probably what they're going to lose. That fair-skinned characters must be destroyed, humiliated, and dehumanized, which breaks the Indy character that you've established for most of the audience in the first two films. Was where it was like very firmly established. That was the first two films I think were the most significant. Which, keep in mind, has supernatural elements in the films. The character was smart. He was a little cocky, but he wasn't perfect. There's a great scene in Temple where he's in the plane. The pilot took a parachute and dipped out, and he's in the cockpit of the plane, and he has no idea how to even attempt to try to land it in a a power off controlled glide on a snowfield. It's like, it was a funny bit because, as ridiculous as the movie is, the guy couldn't do everything, but he's the star of the show, the titular character. It's just a stupid fun bit of 90 minutes of an action adventure. You don't set out to make a movie where you crap on the main character the whole film by bringing in some sidekick that everyone hates. Two sidekicks, because there's a woman and then her little short round character, and like, everyone hated both of those characters. The little short round was a scumbag thief. And like, the whole character, like, please let him get run over repeatedly. And think of how subversive this is from Mangold and Disney. They didn't start the character this way because nobody would watch the movies. If they did this in the first movie, Raiders, if they had Indy be constantly degraded and insulted as the butt of jokes, that movie would not have been the hit it was. That's why they do this subversive bait and switch with every of these known properties. But all these Hollywood rats do. They do this kind of thing where they take a story that's already built and established. It's got powerful brand recognition. They get a hold of it, they buy the rights, and they subvert it and corrupt it. They do it with Willow, Peter Pan, Witcher, Rings of Power, and I think Robert Jordan's books. Not Game of Thrones. I mean, they did the thing after Game of Thrones too. But Wheel of Time. They do this with everything, where they buy the rights to something that's usually some Englishman created, and then they just use the name recognition to destroy it and replace the blonde and red-haired, the blue and green-eyed people who are the foundation, and then they replace them with people that nobody cares about because they have no connection to the original story. Peter Pan replace an English boy with an Indian, and the Lost Boys with non-English girls, where even literally in the story itself, it's explained why there are no girls. It's the Lost Boys and not the Lost Girls. There's a line in the book itself. So who exactly wants to see them replaced from stories that are from their people, from their tribe, a part of their culture? Even if it was just fun little stories, it's still like it's like your blood tribe wrote it, your kin wrote it. Nobody wants to see that subverted and corrupted. You look at it and you look at these Hollywood creatures, and you go, yeah, why don't you do this to some other culture as opposed to like these just taking European stories? Are they such godlike creatures that you have to take them, subvert them, and corrupt them? Like, why don't you take? There's no shortage of African stories, New World story, South American stories, Asian stories, Indian stories. Why don't you take those stories and subvert and corrupt them? Mangold and Disney. No, we're just gonna stick to the Englishman's story. But like, those stories and those people have value to us because those are us, whether or not you're English or not, you're still European. We value those people. It's like, we value ourselves, and we know how freaking awesome we are. Why would you think anyway? So the films usually lose money, and then they wait a few months and they try again because they hate you. Eventually, you're just going to see it's not that deep. They really do just hate you, and they want to destroy and change everything that you enjoyed, even if it is just a silly movie. There's everything. If you're over 40, you know the 80s. Like, I'm thinking E.T., Gremlins, Goonies. God, what have you? Like the cliche 80s movies. Then the God, what are the movies like Better Off Dead type of movies? And you start thinking about those movies, you realize, like, yeah, you couldn't make any of those movies today. But they're probably gonna remake those movies, and it's just gonna be absolute cancer. Oh God, just thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, let's remake the Goonies, which, keep in mind was woke. Oh hey, you're using an Italian mop. That's great, Goonies. Anyway, thanks to Lock Mortos for the $100 super chat on yesterday's video, and Vegan for the Hobbit comic books by Chuck Dixon and Isom. And the pocket knives and flashlights that he's been mailing me, and everyone else. Thanks for the dill seeds for next season. We do a little gardening. It's called gardening, and we do a little gardening. Thanks everyone on Subscribe Star, and I'll see you guys all next episode.